You will get the message when it is live.
Yeah, I got it.
Now you can start.
Hello, welcome everyone. Today we have Sarah from France with us to share about her living and her views about France. And also, she's a sound technician. She has worked on many audio instruments, and also she has done setup for the rock shows, so we can know a little about her passion and how she got into this journey. And she loves sports, physics, maths, carpentry, electrical, and lot more. So we can just listen to her stories today in our Jatre about France and about her passion. Yeah, over to you, Sarah.
Hello, thank you for the introduction. Hope you're all good today. So I'm going to start with a little introduction of myself, briefly. And then I'm going to have a little talk about France, and I'm going to show you some exceptional sites and some of our habits. I'm going to finish with my town, which is a small town, not very famous, but at least you can have a little preview of another town other than Paris, because there's so many other towns in France. And then secondly, I will start talking about my job, which is going to be interesting because I think is really different from what you probably heard in the past, because it's a very particular job. So my name is Sarah, or Sarah if you prefer. I am 36 years old and I live in France and south of France. So on the border of France, next to the Mediterranean Sea. I am here in Aarohi school to discover this incredible school through my journey, through my trip in India. So I've been here since more than a month now, and I'm taking a little break and try to understand this way of life. And I will finish with another week in India after this. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, sharing. Can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So let's start with France. I don't know if you heard a lot about France, but I'm going to try to not do too classic. Okay. This is the world. This is India. And this is Europe, as you probably know already. This is Europe, and this is France in Europe. So we call France like Center Europe. All these countries here are South Europe, and all these countries here are North Europe, and all these countries are East Europe. We are quite in the middle, so we are lucky. We have influences from Italy, Spain a lot, and northern countries, which is quite good. So wherever you go from south to north of France, you have so many different ways of eating, countrysides, habits. And if we will look closer, if you go to France, this is the France. It looks like a little puppet with 2 arms and 2 legs. And my town is right here. It's called Montpellier, and it's around the Mediterranean Sea, as you can see here. So down here you have Spain, and here you have Italy. So basically, to show you like distances, this is a very small country compared to yours. Montpellier to Italy is 4 hours drive. Montpellier to Spain, 3 hours drive. So we're quite close to those countries. Secondly, after geography, I'm going to talk about one of our favorite habits is food, because like Indian, we like our food and it is really different Maybe not as good as Indian food, but it's still very good. So first for breakfast, we eat this. This is bread. This is our bread. This is orange juice, and this is a coffee. We basically don't cook for breakfast. We just have like a hot drink, a piece of bread, and then we go for our day. We will eat better for lunch. We will cook something for lunch, but for breakfast, it's basically very simple. If we are really hungry, we can go to something called a boulangerie, which is bakery in English. And in there you can find, of course, the beautiful croissant, which is, I would say, one of our biggest pride. Food-wise, we still have cheese, as you probably know already. So this is different kinds of cheese. If you really like cheese, we have hundreds of thousands of cheese. So you go to a cheese shop and you pick what you want to try. I think you don't have a life to try all the cheese in the world, in France, I guess. We have so different types of bread, as I told you already. This is called charcuterie, so it's like raw meat. We eat it like a snack on bread. It's really quick. It's not a meal, it's like snacks. We are famous for wine in France, so red wine, white wine, made with grapes. So these kind of grapes are really, really sweet, really intense in matter of flavor. And this is all the grapes wineries. So we cultivate a lot of grapes to do wine. This is a dish that looks like a curry, but it's not. It is a beef stew made with wine sauce. So we do a lot of stews like that with cream or wine. It's really thick, really intense in terms of flavor too. We eat meat. There's a bit of vegetarians in France, but it's not like in India. So slowly we're getting into that. French fries, of course, you know, potato, cheese, and onions. This is called a crepe or pancake if you prefer, but we call it crepe because it's really flat. Honestly, this is a dosa. This is exactly like a dosa with a different type of flour. And inside we put eggs, cheese, of course, and everything you like. You put it inside and then you eat it like this. This is considered as a meal. We also eat greens. We take salads from the ground and we make salads, and we add everything we want inside with a lot of dressings. What else? And at the end of the dish, of course, we have beautiful desserts, very famous in the world. So this is a pie. This is a lemon pie. This is a fruit pie, chocolate cakes. And that's it for the food. I hope I didn't make you too hungry. Exceptional sites that you probably know. This is called a cathedral. This is not Notre Dame, which is really
I think Sarah's screen is on, right?
Yeah, same here.
Sarah, we couldn't hear
that caught in fire 2 years ago.
Sarah, your voice is actually breaking. We couldn't hear much of what you said about the cathedral. Do you want to try switching off your video and explain that again? Or move to a different place?
Yeah, Sakila, I think she's not able to hear. Somebody is going to her personally and telling her.
Yeah, and I think she's dropped off also.
Yeah, helping her, yeah.
Hello again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry for that. A little connection problem.
Maybe we can switch off, Sarah, your video for some time.
This one and this. To do that. Switch off video, stop video. Voila, here you go. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, Sarah.
Okay. So one last thing I was talking about was this village, which is in the middle of the water, as you can see. So you can access this village only when the tide is down. And in the middle, in the center of this village, there's a huge cathedral, and it goes down this hill. This is a UNESCO pretty famous site. And of course, at last, I had to talk about the Tour Eiffel, which is also one of the most famous things in France. Here you go. So this is done for France. I'm going to talk briefly about my town, Montpellier, with just a few pictures, and then we can talk about my job. Montpellier looks like this. So it's a pretty old town, like a medieval town. This is like the old part of Montpellier. Really sunny and always good weather in Montpellier because it's like south of France. It's like French California. This is another part of Montpellier, which is the Justice Palace, and this is the Triumph Arch. So when we win a war in France, we build an arch like this to celebrate, commemorate. This is one of the most famous cathedrals in Montpellier, which is now a medicine university. This is the Opera of Montpellier. This is the inside of the Opera of Montpellier. I've never worked there, but maybe one day because I kind of like it. We also have a modern part in Montpellier. This is an administrative building. This is a library, pretty modern, as you can see. And this is another crazy building for a house. So we call it the White Tree. We have tramways to transport ourselves. So we have cars, but we also use a lot of common transport like trains and buses, but we have tramways. So they're like very slow trains that travel through the city. And in Montpellier, we're famous for our beautiful tramways that are pretty well decorated, as you can see. We also have the beach next to the sea, which is pretty wild in certain parts like this. White sand, and the water is really quiet because it is not an ocean, it is the sea. So when you go for a swim, it's relaxing. Okay, let's start with my job now. So I'm gonna start talking, and then if I have time, I will show you some pictures. So I started, I started this job, or to learn this job pretty, I'm gonna put my video back. Here you go. I started this job pretty late. I was 25 years old. That means before that, I used to study a little bit, but then I did some jobs here and here, and I didn't really know what to do in my job. And one day I was like, okay, even if I'm quite old to start a job, I think I can do it. If I have lots of motivation, a bit of ambition, I think I can do it. So I started like this. I started to learn by myself on internet. Thank you, internet, which is a great place to learn. And then I started to try to find some stages or internships in some places like theaters, venues, concert venues, or just little places where events happen. And little by little, I found internships and also little trainings. So in this job, this is why I said it was very particular. There's no studies, there's no real study, there's no sound engineer diploma, at least in my domain. There are diplomas for audiovisual, radios, stuff like that, TV, but for live industry, it's not very common. So you have to find your way yourself. It's the same for a lot of people, like I would say 80% of people. So I started to do little trainings, like a few months. And then when I started to work, I tried to find little specialties training, like 1 week, 2 weeks here, like 1 week on some certain microphones, 1 week on certain speakers, etc., etc. And at the end of, so it's like 10 years now, I'm 36. I think I'm pretty complete. Still have lots to learn, but little by little, I created my own path, my own skills. So my first jobs in Montpellier were quite small. I started to work in little theaters. So I'm going to share some pictures and stop my video. So when I say small theaters, I mean something like that. Okay, it's not very precise. So it's like a few seats, you know, like 50 people, maybe 100 maximum, and the stage is quite small. But on this kind of gigs, we call them, I could do a lot of different little things, like, you know, preparing some microphones, preparing the cables. You start very slow in this job. So it takes a bit of time, but I would say it's like a lot of jobs, you know, you don't become an engineer right away. And then after 1 year, because I'm really ambitious and really motivated, I saw in my town, which is quite small, there was not a lot of things happening. So I decided to move to Paris, which is the capital of France. And I finally worked for bigger things. So I worked, I'm gonna go back on my video. So I worked for bigger theaters with bigger responsibilities, little funds. What I can say about how I learned basically is when you don't know something, go and look for how it works. Don't open it, but for me, my main resource was internet or documentation. If the documentation is not here around you and you have to know quickly, I take my phone, I look the documentation on my phone, I found what I want, and then I know. I would say 70% of what I learned in my job, myself, which is hard at first, but when you start knowing all the process and all the, when you have all the reflexes to know and target exactly what you want to know, this is really a big, this big pride, you know, I didn't pay for any studies. I didn't have like real good teacher that told me everything. So it's quite a good pride. So after 5 or 6 years, I started to work for festivals. I'm gonna see if I have a picture of festivals. I don't have pictures of festivals right there, but basically it's bigger stages with a lot of way more instruments, and the level is a bit higher. So I started with this, and after a year or two of doing those kind of things, someone really important in France saw me working, and he took me apart one day and he said, listen, I need you to come with me. I want to show you something in Switzerland, which is another country of Europe. I want you to work with us internationally. So I think he saw in me some potential, and my English was pretty good as well. Not as good as now, but it was quite okay, because in this job, it has to be in English. If you want to work internationally, you have to speak a bit of English. This is why I'm quite almost the only French working abroad with this person. We might be like 10 10 French working abroad, which is also a good pride. So my first tour was, so he asked me to work with them on tour. On tour means you pick an artist, or someone pick an artist for you, and this artist want to make concert everywhere in the world. One day, let's say in Paris, another day in Berlin, in Germany, another day in Switzerland, and we move around like this every single day. So to do that, we need to have all the equipment with us and all the people with us, because we know how this equipment work, and we set it up the same way every single day. My first tour was actually, oh no, I cannot see her. Okay. There are some images that don't work. So my first tour was Shakira. If you know her, she's pretty famous. She's like a Latin singer. And my job on this tour was to set up microphones and speakers. So let's see if I can show you some microphone. Okay, when I say set up microphones, it means this. For example, this is a drum kit. So on each instrument, so this is one instrument, part of the drum, each one of them have one microphone. Why? Because each one of them have a different sound. So you want to be able, in a huge arena like we set up, you want to hear properly each instruments at different levels. Sometimes you want some higher than others, and sometimes you want them quiet, so you just cut the microphone. So that was my job, setting all those microphones. I can show you the Shakira drum set, which was pretty big. Here you go. As you can see, there's a lot of things happening here. So even on the cymbal, we put one microphone here, one microphone here. On the darbukas, there's one microphone everywhere. Also on this tour, I was learning how to set up speakers. So I used to do it in the past in small venues, so small concerts. For this tour, I learned on the gig. That means they didn't teach me anything. They wanted to see if I was available to do it right away with just my brain, my hands, of course. So this is the size of the speakers. So as you can see, there are 3 speakers, and this is called a rigging. This is what you use to lift the speakers in the air. So it's quite big. It ends up doing something big like this. So as you can see here, there's like probably 16 speakers on this side. And behind you have all the subwoofers. Subwoofers are speakers that give a lot of bass. All the bass sounds just go in the speakers. Like that, we don't mix the sound. So you put 4 and then you connect them here. You lift the whole thing and then you connect 4 more underneath, etc., etc. At the end, in the air, it does this. You can see here all the cables going down. And another picture of these. Here you go. So all these 3 stacks of speakers, I was doing it on my own with a few local people that could help me, but I was driving a team to do that. So I made it okay. It was really tough because you know, when it's your first time, you have a lot of pressure and they want to see if you can make it. I made it okay. So they proposed me another tour after that. What else can I say? I can show you as well how we amplify the speakers. So some of the people in Aarohi school, they know why we need to amplify the speakers. You saw one amplifier in the kitchen. I show you our amplifiers. So these are the cable that goes down from the speakers in the air through here. This is me. So as you can see, I have like a lot of equipment to protect myself if anything happens. And here on the left, you have all the amplifiers. another picture of all the amplifiers. This is one stack of amplifiers and another one and another one. Behind here, it's not audio, it's lights, because of course in our domain, there's also lighting people, video people, stage people. So this is it for speaker, and another one, last one to show you how big it can be. Okay, this is me, and this is all the speakers I set up. And this is the guys that laugh and that are lazy watching me working. I'm joking. These are just the people that was helping me. Each time when we move from a town to another one, we have a local crew. We call it the local crew, because alone I cannot really do all that by myself. I just tell them, okay, bring the speakers here, give me this cable, and then we all work together as a team. Secondly, I worked for, so they called me back for another tour for a young man called Shawn Mendes. Here we go. And Shakira was her opening act. So Shawn Mendes, I was doing only speakers. So same thing than this one, exactly the same thing, but twice bigger, because Shawn Mendes needed more speakers. It depends also on the budget of the artist. If they have a bit more budget, they can provide more speakers, more lights, more video. And as you can guess, Shawn Mendes has lots of money. Different types. This is the pedals. Okay.
Maybe we'll just have a quick check with our participants if they have any questions until now.
Sorry,
Is
can you
it
repeat?
fine, sir? Is it fine? So can we just check with participants if they have any questions, speakers, microphones, or about?
Sure.
Could you
sure,
hear
sure.
me? Yeah.
Yes. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I will finish probably later. Anybody, any question?
One question. This is not directly connected to microphones or speakers, but have you met all of these people?
Sorry, can you repeat just slower?
Have you met all of these people? Like, have you met Shakira and everybody?
Alors, so it depends on your job. If you do the speakers, basically you set up the speakers in the morning. When the speakers are in the air, you just go away. You take a break, you have lunch, maybe you stay around to see a bit of a sound check, but you're not really hanging out with the artist or the band. So with Shawn Mendes, because I was doing just the speakers, I could see him briefly on some sound checks, briefly at lunch, because he's quite accessible. Honestly, he's not like, he's a big star, but he doesn't really, think he's the best and nobody can watch me. So he was coming to lunch with us and we can have sometimes conversations with him. But for Shakira, for example, because I was setting speakers, but also the microphones, I could actually talk with her. She was really stressed out and really demanding with her job. So anytime she could see me, for example, she felt a bit more reassured because I tried to keep professional and to show her that everything was okay, technically wise. That was a big part of my job. Because when you give an artist a microphone in front of thousands and thousands of people, this has to work. If she starts singing and if it doesn't work, or if there's any problem, that can ruin her mind. She can blow up and she can start crying and leave the stage. This can be a big drama. So with Shakira, I had lots of conversations. She not really about technical things, but little things about my life. And also she had a song in French. She really wanted to make a song in French. So she was a bit stressed out about her pronunciation. So she was coming to me every time and asked me do I sing it right? And I was like, no, Shakira, this is not right. So this is a little story, a little funny story I always talk about, because at that moment I felt really close to her, and that was quite incredible. Did I answer your
Wow,
question?
so you've actually met them like live.
Yes. Oh yeah. On my third tour, I will tell you about, which was Sting. So he's a pretty famous artist, from 70 years old. Also, I was even more closer because I was setting up his microphone and his headset microphone. So each time I had to take care of him, the cable on his pants, to make sure the cable was not pulling. So I was really close to him, and each time he was making jokes with me and talk with me. So pretty good. Any other question?
Sarah, question from Sakila. So how did you manage to find your first job?
Good question. I started with internships. So I don't know how it works in India, but in France, for example, to start an internship, like a stage, you need to get in contact with some venues and people that work actually in the venues. So I was coming with my resume, which was empty. And I was like, listen, I am really motivated. I have this little training. I know this about, I showed them what I knew about audio, which was really basic. And some said, no, I'm sorry, we don't have room for you. And some were saying, okay, we can put you on a stage for 1 day or for 1 week, and we will see. And I did like probably 5 or 6 stages like that on one summer, because I put resumes in a lot of places. And probably on 30, I had like 6. And after the 6, after the summer, most of them called me back for a real job. They're like, okay, we know you have the capacities. We know you have the motivation. That's all we want to know. We know you have the good behavior. You're a good person, you respect, you listen, you're on time, and that's all they want to have. So I got my first job in Montpellier like this. It was in a small theater. It was really small, but I was really, really happy because it's not like every job where you come with your diploma and you did like 5 years of studies. That is very different path and very, very unique. I think I have a question on the chat. How did you manage to learn the little tricks of your job? Is it for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Share about the process of
Yes.
documenting and learning. This is a really good point. At first, I was, of course, stressed out because in this job, you have to learn pretty quickly because the show is happening soon and you don't have days to prepare a show. You have 1 day to prepare a show, maybe 2 days, but it's not very common that you have more than 2 days to prepare a show. So everything has to be ready pretty quick. And if you don't know nothing, either you ask, but some people won't give you an answer quick, or they are busy, or they don't want to share. There's a lot of people that don't like to share. You have to find a solution. So I remember 10 years ago, I didn't have a phone like that with all this information. So I was insisting for having documentation. So on every device in the world, when you buy any device, a mouse, computer, anything, you have documentation with it. It's in the box. It's everywhere the same. So I was like, okay, please show me the box with all the documentation. And you have sometimes box with all documentation of everything. You have to dig and dig and dig. You have to be curious, and you have to understand that if you cannot give the information to the person, or if you cannot make this device work, you cannot be fired, but people are gonna think, okay, She doesn't really know, so maybe I will give her less responsibilities. We're gonna wait another week, etc. So it's up to you. If you want to take time, of course you can take time. You can also say you don't know. It happened to me so many times. Like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm sorry, I need documentation. At first, it's been like that, like for probably a good year. And little by little, when you know something, you know, you create you step up with your skills, and at a point you don't need to get documentation. The process of learning, I would say internet helped a lot at a point in my life. So I had internet at home, I had internet on my phone. So they are the quick answers you find on your phone on the job. So this is really, let's say, a quick learning, like a quick information. But if you want to structure it, if you want to make sure you have all the details of what you learned during the day, what I did, it's not the same for everybody, but a lot of people do that in my job. I take my computer and I created like a big notebook with all the chapters. For example, I had like a chapter named microphones. So there's a big general paragraph on microphones. What is a microphone? How does it work? What kind of microphones and why? All these questions on a big general note, big paragraph. And then I take pictures from internet. I put the most important microphones and I explain the brand, the price, the cable that goes with. It's like I created my own dictionary about microphones, but also computers, because we use a lot of computers, speakers, so many speakers. And little by little, I created my own, my own audio dictionary. It's still to fill up because in audio, technology keeps increasing. There's always new things every day. There's a new device. So to be at the top notch of this, of this industry, you need to keep learning. I'm still learning. This afternoon, what I'm going to do, I'm going to watch videos on a certain console that is brand new. So even if I'm on holidays, I'm always keeping in touch with what's happening in the industry. Another question?
It's really informative.
Yeah.
I like the notebook idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really
I've
useful.
made some notes from your answers. Thank you for the answer.
Ah, very good. I can, if I found it, because now with the clouds, I decided to put everything on the cloud because one day I had a very bad experience. I lost everything in my computer. You have no idea how long I cried, because that was like years of documentation and all that. So I decided to put everything on the cloud, and maybe if someone is interested, I can show you a little sample. What was I about to say about this? Oh yeah, also something really useful about the cloud is, for example, you're on a gig. It happened to me this year. I was on a Sting tour and I was like, oh, I forgot how to set up this computer with this software. So no panic, took my phone, opened the cloud because I had internet on my phone, opened the cloud, and you can read your note quickly, like, oh, I forgot, okay. Instead of going on internet, because internet you have to, go through a lot of different websites. You have to, when everything is summed up, everything is targeted to the point you want, goes faster. It's really, I think it's a really useful tool. Can I show it?
Hello, Sarah, can you hear us? Hello.
Hello, yes.
Yeah, so my question to you is, like, for which events did you work in, like, in Shakira events, or yeah, any names?
Events in general?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I started in Montpellier, the bands and the theater companies, they were not very famous. They were local French companies and bands. When I started to work in Paris, that was more and more famous. So I would say for theaters, I think about India a lot because I started in a big theater in Paris, and we were hosting what we called world music. So we had music from everywhere, Africa, Latin America, and then India. I remember this show was like a 4 or 6 hour sitar show. 4 people sat in the middle of the stage. I think they were like Shankar family or something like that. So they were pretty famous, and that was a big thing for me at the time. And then when I left all the theater things, I started to work for festivals. And festival, which is interesting, is that you see a lot of different kind of music. So it can be like pop music, rock music, metal music, classic. On those festivals, I saw a lot of pretty famous artists like Muse, Madonna, Björk. Sting was there already. I didn't see Shawn Mendes, but I saw like really famous around the world famous artists. And then I worked for a French artist where you might not know. And then the three, because touring for me is pretty new. I started in 2018. I just did 3 tours, 3 big tours. Because we had 2 years of COVID, I didn't work at all. So first tour was Shakira. Second tour was Shawn Mendes with Alessia Cara opening. So the opening act was Alessia Cara. I don't know if you know her, but she's pretty famous around the world as well. And the last one was Sting. I don't know if you know Sting, but maybe for people of my age, it's pretty famous. That's all I can remember. I did also some festivals, like well-known name of festival, like the Download Festival, Lollapalooza, the Main Square Festival. Lastly, I did kind of a new festival. It's called Soundstorm Festival. It's a huge electronic festival in Riyadh, in Saudi, which was massive. Speakers everywhere, lots of people. Maybe you heard about this festival. Yeah.
So what was something that you wish you told your younger self, or when you were starting, something like that? Yeah.
That's a good question. I put a lot of pressure on me when I started, because as I said, I started pretty late for a normal career. You know, usually you start at 20, and I felt guilty to have not started earlier. So what I did was, putting a lot of pressure on myself, and like, okay, I need to learn this faster than everybody. I need to do my notebook right away. And I worked pretty hard, and probably too hard, because this didn't help. To put that much pressure on me, I think people could see it. You know, people can see it on your face when you're stressed out and when you want to be perfect. So I think a lot of people, when I started, they didn't trust me, and they didn't give me a lot of responsibility because of that. And when I understood that, like probably 5 years after, I almost wanted to not stop this job, but I was thinking about doing something else, because I didn't think I was growing fast enough. I was like, I'm not sure, you know, how in your career, there's always a moment you doubt of yourself, you doubt of did you do the right choice and did you do the right path for this job? And as I started too late, I might start to give up and find something else. When I started to think like this, trust me or not, believe me or not, I started to be way more relaxed. I was not taking care of that much of things, you know, like, okay, I'm just going to roll this cable here. I'm going to be more relaxed with people as well. I'm going to be like, you know, more funny and take this job a little less seriously. And doing this, I swear, doing this brought me so much more work. Everybody called me like, oh, this girl is really cool. And she looks confident. She looks like she knows what she's doing. So if that was something I would point out, would be your behavior. Yes, you have a lot of things to learn, and yes, it will probably never end. So stop putting too much pressure. Pressure is good, but a certain amount is reasonable. Yeah, this is how I got this job on tour. People thought I was really cool and really like, oh no, yeah, she knows what she's doing. She's not stressed out. And of course, I didn't know like half of things around me, but I didn't show it. And if someone would ask me something, I was like, oh yes, no, I don't know, but maybe we can try to learn this together. And you know, I took a bit of more distance, just a bit, not too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe Shakira, you want to ask the question, which is the answer? Your question.
Ask a question.
How about researching what you have shared in the chat?
Sorry?
Yeah, Shakira has asked, while researching, since in the internet you get a vast, wide variety of answers, and so how do you narrow it down and look for what you wanted, and then how do you
Yeah, target what I want to know.
develop that? Yeah.
Good question. It took me years. I'm honest with you, it didn't come like that. When I was younger, I took the whole documentation and I was reading it all, start to the end. Sometimes it can be hundreds of pages, so it's a big book. So I started like this, and it was quite tiring. And I was writing everything, even if it wasn't interesting or wasn't really, you know, accurate. I think it's with the years when I started to read my notes again, because what I also forget to tell you is that regularly I read those notes. I don't read everything because there's too much, but I read, you know, one paragraph, or sometimes when I'm bored, instead of reading a book, I just read a few things like, oh, I remember, just to refresh my mind. And sometimes when I was reading some notes, I was like, oh, what did I write? What did I write? This is insane to have written this. This is too much, too many details that are not, you know, useful, like how much current goes into this microphone. Who wants to know that? So little by little, I started to erase things from my notes. And knowing this, little by little, I understood that I need to target more, and I need to focus more on what I want to know on the moment. So if I want to know, for example, why this microphone does this sound, so this is not a microphone, but let's pretend. This microphone does a certain sound and certain spots on stage. I'm not going to read all the documentation, okay? I'm on internet, I have the documentation. It starts with the brand, the price. I'm just going to skip this because I know with experience, this is not what I want to know. So I scroll down, and I target the chapter named directivity. So it's not something I know like this. As I said, I wrote a lot of things and I read a lot of things that were not useful. I learned by myself to know where to go right away. And sometimes it's easy, it's a documentation, sometimes it is not easy at all. For example, during COVID, for 2 years, I didn't work. So for 2 years, I decided to fill up my notes with another level. So I had all the basics now, and now I decided to step up. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to work, so I'm going to step up on my own. And when we'll be back to work, maybe I will know more things. I started to learn about, for example, network. So in audio, we use network a lot, like routers, IP addresses, MAC addresses, because all our equipment is all connected with Ethernet cables. And to create a network, you have to know how computers work, etc. To know about this particular chapter, which is called audio network, it's really complicated because you don't find this on internet very easy. It's a certain skill that certain people worked on, and these people probably wrote something on it. So it took me, I think it took me 1 month to write around 50 pages. But yeah, one day, 1 page, and this page took me like 8 hours to, find the right information, because sometimes you have all the basics again and again and again, but you want to target something more complicated. I guess it's like every job, when you try to step up your skills, the more you want to step up, the more complicated you will find this to find. It will be complicated to find the information.
It's quite interesting the way you have shared to step up yourself, and the way you have come up with the skill of researching and documenting, and how to keep yourself motivated even when you are feeling bored. Yeah, it's quite interesting. So, anyone has any other questions to ask?
I have. Arpita here, Sarah. I've heard you telling me all the stories, but now I want to know how you started focusing on this. Like, how did you decide this is my career? I want to do this only. Because when you decide that, then only you can work so deeply onto it. But some may think this and that. There are 5 to 6 things on my head. I cannot do everything at a time, but I need to know what is my thing. How did you figure that out in your life?
Very good question too. I was lost from my 18 to my 25. So it's a lot of years. The only thing I knew is, first, I had some potential. I was quite good at school, but it's not a mandatory. Second, I had ambition. I knew I wanted to do something of my life, and I knew I could do it because I come from a family where we don't have like crazy jobs and crazy money. So I knew I had to step up a bit and at least find something in my life that will give me, a bit of money, but above all, something that will. I remember saying at this age, at 25, like, okay, I'm going to pick this job because I realized that if you want to do a job all your life, it's better to be something you like. Yeah. Some job, they bring you a lot of money, but if after 5 years, you're just so bored of it, I'm not sure you're going to keep going. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try to find something I'm going to be okay with all my life, or at least 10, 20 years. So I used to study a bit of physics and math, and my mom was a musician, and I really liked music really much. But my mom was like, no, don't do music. It doesn't give you lots of money. It's not a safe job, it's not a real job. So, okay, well, I'm not going to do music. And then one day, maybe it's just my experience, but one day I crossed paths a festival in my town in Montpellier. It's called the Music Festival. There's music everywhere in the streets. on some plazas, there's like big stages, and in corners of the street, there are like little bands, you know, it's really amateur. Everybody can come and play music, and people just walk around the whole night. And I remember I think I was 24, and I saw this huge stage in the middle of Montpellier, my town, with this guy had a huge board, huge mixing console with all those buttons, you know. It's really impressive when you see it for the first time. You're like, oh, and the music, my God, the music was insane. It was so beautiful. I think what really motivated was the magic of the music. You know, when the music really takes you from the guts, you're like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And this guy is making this work. Okay, I want to do that. It was just a magical moment. And it's years after I realized it was, on top of that, it was reuniting things I like: music, electricity, electronics, physics. You know, it's a bit of a handiwork. So this was just perfect for me. A lot of people are not like me. Some people are just brainy, so they do audio in studios. So they just sit all day long, and they edit songs for recording. This is another type of being audio engineer. Me, because I was quite like, I like the live, I like the music on stage because of my mom and all my experiences. I like this field, you know. So I felt very in my domain. I felt this was for me. So yeah, I think that was the moment. And then when you have this moment, you can go touch the stars, the moon.
Yeah, the last question Yogi has asked is share about your travel experience.
You mean work-wise or in my life in general?
Sorry, Sarah?
You mean with my job, or you mean in my life in general?
Yogi?
Yeah, here I meant her traveling experience to India, but she can add with her life and profession also. She can club. Yeah, you can club everything.
Okay. India. Wow. What an experience. So I'm quite special. I traveled a lot before my job because I'm half Australian. So my dad is Australian and my mom is French. So since I'm this big, I travel very long distance. So I quite had the, how can I say, not the passion, but the habit to travel a bit. And started traveling when I was 16 on my own. So I took a friend and we took a bus straight to Barcelona, and I was like, okay, let's discover it. My mom was okay with that, you know, I could call her if anything. So everything was organized. It was quite simple. And yeah, since I worked in audio, basically I have a real salary. So every year I could afford 3 weeks, maybe 1 month of holidays. So I decided to keep traveling. So I did a lot of trips around the world, in Europe as well, a lot of in Europe. And for India, that was something I really wanted to do since a long time. But people were scaring me. They're like, you cannot go there alone. You need to be with some people, some man or your friend. So waited a lot. And after COVID and after this year of work, because after COVID, we worked hard, you know, to catch up. So after this year, I think in summer, I was like, okay, I'm not going to wait for my friends all my life to go to India. I'm just gonna go. So again, I went to internet, go from a lot of forums and read a lot of things about women that go in India by themselves, and they never had any problems. So that really reassured me. I was like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it. This is my sentence. If they can do it, I can do it. I do that with everything in the world. When I build something, when I cook something, like, oh God, if she can do it, I can do it. So I did it. I decided to leave for 2 months in India because I know how big it is, and I thought in 1 month I would just see one town, so I need to see at least 2 towns. But yeah, I started with Mumbai. I stayed there for 1 week, and then I went down to Goa, and then Kerala. I met a friend from Kerala there. He showed me his friends and family, and then Mysore, and then I finished here in Aarohi. And after Aarohi, after this week, I still have 1 week to go in India. So I decided to see Pondicherry because it's French. A lot of people told me about also this place called Auroville, which is a big meditation place. I'm really curious and can't wait to see this. So for the moment, I'm having a great moment. I didn't have any problems. Everybody is always very nice with me. I am not transparent, of course, because I'm pretty tall, white, blonde, and blue eyes. Everybody is watching me kind of weirdly at some points, but I don't really mind. And as soon as I start to smile to them, they smile back. So this is okay. Honestly, everybody's been really nice with me. So for me, it's a success.
Awesome to hear your journey and your experiences. And lovely to having you with us for sharing your experience. And yeah.
Sarah, this is going on to my board.
Perfect.
Quotes by Sarah.
Yeah.
That's, hang on. Top
Tell
notch.
it aloud, Aparna, Arpita.
If they can do it, I can do it.
Can do
Exactly.
That's such an inspiring thing for me today.
Yeah.
And I can add even one more, which I adhered long ago. If they can't do it, then I can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Thanks a lot, Sarah.
Leela, I think campus also had a question. Maybe they can catch up with her. Or
Sarah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Any
sure.
question? If they want me to show my notebook, for example, well, it's in French, but at least you can see how I set it up with pictures and all that. No problem.
Yeah, I could get the glimpses of France if I have to visit anytime.
Yeah, with pleasure.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Anyway, for me, the big takeaway is the researching for what I wanted to research, and where it takes a lot of time, of course. But when you give up in between, you don't reach to the point where you want to.
Yeah.
So I will make it.
Yeah, it's like when you're a journalist, you don't have the information right away. You look for a long time.
Yes.
When you have the information, you're like, I did it.
Yeah. Anyone wants to share their takeaways? So then we can share. Bye, and we can end the meet.
I have a lot of questions, Sarah, still.
Yeah, maybe you can catch up with Sarah.
Sarah, are you there on Friday?
She is here with us at campus. If you want to ask any questions, you all can post in collaboration channel. So maybe I will, technology channel, you can, if it is related to technology or you want to share it in collaboration, that is also fine. So we will connect with Sarah and reply to that.
Yes, that's a great idea because I also have some questions.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for today.
But Leela,
that was a pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Not a question, just an obligation. Rather than me posting the question, you getting the answer and made it done. Can we have another Zoom meet so that we can, see face to face and we can grasp more. Yeah, we can take her feeling.
Yeah, sure. If there is a need for that, you can ask in collaboration channel. So then we can see if we want one more session about it, we can do that. Okay. Thank
everyone.
you.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
You're
Bye.
welcome.
Thank you so much, Sarah.